A chill hung in the air as I stood alone in the dim glow of a gas station parking lot in Bozeman, Montana, watching the taillights of my wife's car vanish into the night. My name's Ethan, 34, a structural engineer for Horizon Builders. My wife, Lauren, had just peeled out. Her sisters, Claire and Megan, cackling in the back seat like they'd pulled off the heist of the century. We'd been married for 8 years, and this trip, a supposed weekend, escape for her cousin's wedding, was meant to be a break from the grind. The four of us had piled into her SUV, sharing gas costs and hotel bookings, but the whole drive up from Denver felt off. Lauren kept stealing glances at her sisters in the rearview mirror, their hushed giggles and cryptic exchanges prickling my nerves. When I asked what was up, Lauren would flash a grin and say, "Just sister talk, hun. Don't worry." My gut screamed otherwise, but I let it slide. We'd stopped for gas an hour outside Bozeman, the sky bruised with the threat of snow. I ducked into the station for a coffee and to hit the restroom. When I stepped back outside, the SUV's engine was rumbling, and Lauren was behind the wheel with a smirk that didn't sit right. "Hop in, Ethan," I called, striding toward the passenger door. She rolled down the window. "You know," she said, her voice sharp with something I couldn't place, "we've been thinking. It's time you learned to stand on your own 2 feet." I froze. What's that supposed to mean? Claire leaned forward, her eyes glinting. "You're always glued to Lauren's side, Ethan, like a shadow. We figured a little solo adventure might do you good." Megan piped up, barely hiding her glee. "Yeah, a chance to toughen up." I jingled the keys in my pocket, except they weren't car keys. They were for our house back in Denver, where my pickup sat uselessly in the driveway. "This isn't funny," I said, my voice low. "Stop messing around." Lauren's grin widened, almost cruel. "It's not a prank, Ethan, it's a lesson. Lighten up and figure it out." With that, she floored the gas, and I watched, stunned, as they sped off down Highway 90, their laughter fading into the dusk. The October wind bit through my jacket, carrying the sharp scent of impending snow. I dialed Lauren's number, voicemail. Claire's, voicemail. Megan had blocked me ages ago, after some petty spat I'd long forgotten. This wasn't a joke that would end with them circling back, giggling. This was something darker, a deliberate move that laid bare what my wife and her sisters really thought of me. The gas station clerk, a grizzled guy with a bored stare, told me no buses ran through this stretch. "Nearest Greyhound's in Bozeman. About 45 miles east," he said, scratching his beard. I sank onto a curb, the weight of it all settling in. I'd met Lauren 9 years ago on a job site. She was a sustainability consultant for a project my crew was building. All sharp wit and warmth that made me feel like I mattered. Her sisters were another story. Claire, 2 years older, ran PR for a tech startup and had an opinion on everything. Megan, 28, was still drifting through life, but her sarcasm was razor sharp. From day one, they acted like I was stealing Lauren from them. Family dinners were a minefield of inside jokes I wasn't privy to. Group trips meant plans made without my input, like I was an afterthought. "They're just protective," Lauren would say when I mentioned it. Give them time. But time only made it worse. After we married, Claire started dropping hints that I was holding Lauren back from her dreams, travel, adventure. Megan would scoff whenever I offered help, like fixing a leaky faucet. "Not everything needs a guy to fix it," she'd snap. I'd noticed other signs too. Lauren's phone was always buzzing with texts from her sisters. She'd cancel our plans last minute for their emergencies. Claire's breakup drama. Megan's latest apartment crisis. Last year, she forgot our anniversary helping Megan move. The year before, she missed my birthday for Claire's rough day. "Family first," she'd say, and I got it. I wanted to respect it, but wasn't I family too? The drive to Montana had been littered with red flags. They'd insisted I leave my truck behind, saying it'd be fun to ride together. Lauren booked the hotel in her name only. Claire kept jabbing at my predictable life, while Megan tossed out, "Remember when you used to be spontaneous, before you turned into Mr. Responsible?" I brushed it off, but it stung. I worked long hours to provide for us, handled home repairs, planned thoughtful dates. I thought that's what a good husband did. Now standing in that desolate parking lot, the Montana hills swallowing the last of the daylight, I saw the truth. Not about my effort, but about who I'd married. The clerk let me use the station's phone to call a Bozeman cab company. The $70 ride stung, but I had to get to that bus station. The 14-hour Greyhound trip to Denver gave me too much time to think about Lauren, about the 8 years I'd poured into making her happy. I kept checking my phone, hoping for an apology, a sign they'd realized they'd crossed a line. Nothing. Somewhere near Cheyenne, Wyoming, it hit me like a sledgehammer. This wasn't about teaching me a lesson. It was about control, about humiliating me, about showing me I was disposable. I thought of all the times I'd let their jabs slide, apologized for things I didn't do, rearranged my life to keep the peace. The worst part, they'd probably planned this for months, giggling over wine at Claire's place, betting on how I'd react. When the bus rolled into Denver at 7 a.m., I'd made up my mind. I took a cab home, expecting Lauren's SUV in the driveway. It wasn't. The house was silent, untouched since we'd left Friday. I called in sick to work and did something I'd never done. I went through Lauren's stuff, not out of paranoia, but to understand who I'd been sharing my life with. Her laptop was locked, but she'd left her browser open. Group chats with her sisters stretched back months, screenshots of our texts, mocked with laughing emojis, photos of me napping captioned, "Clueless as ever." The Montana plan was there in black and white. Claire's idea. Let's ditch him somewhere remote and see how he handles it. Megan, Lamau, he'll probably cry without Lauren. Lauren, you're awful, but it'd be so funny. They'd mapped it out. The gas station. The independence excuse. Even a contingency. If he beats us home, he'll just sulk and call his brother. Claire's reply, total loser vibes. I shut the laptop, my chest tight. Then I packed a bag and left. No note, no locked doors, just gone like they'd left me. I drove my pickup to my brother Noah's place in Colorado Springs. He worked nights at a warehouse and had a spare room. When I showed up with just a duffel, he handed me a beer and asked, "How long you staying?" "Not sure," I said. Noah had never warmed to Lauren. He'd always duck out early at family events, his silence speaking volumes. I told him everything. The abandonment, the chats, the months of scheming. "Damn, Ethan," he said. "You're better off without her." Monday, I called my boss at Horizon and requested a transfer to a Colorado Springs project, a school, expansion needing skilled hands. He didn't pry, just said I could start Wednesday. Tuesday, my phone lit up. Lauren was back. Her voicemail, "Ethan, where are you? You just vanished." "That's not like you, call me." "No sorry, no accountability. Just shocked that I dared to leave." I blocked her number. Claire called next, blocked. Megan already blocked. They got crafty, using work phones, unknown numbers, leaving messages about how I was overreacting to a silly prank and needed to come home to talk. Thursday, Noah came home from his shift, his face tense. Lauren's outside, parked across the street. I peered out. Her SUV idled under a streetlight. She saw me, stepped out, and headed toward the building. I met her in the lobby before she could reach Noah's door. "Ethan, thank God," she said, reaching for my arm, her eyes wide with rehearsed worry. I pulled back. "What do you want, Lauren?" "I want you home. We need to talk like adults." "Talk about what?" "You stranding me 200 miles from home. You and your sisters plotting it for months?" Her mask slipped, irritation flashing in her eyes. "It was a prank, Ethan. You're acting like we betrayed you. You planned to humiliate me. You laughed about it." She stepped closer, voice sharp. "You needed it. You're so needy, always hovering. We thought a little push would make you grow up." The lobby's fluorescent hum filled the silence. I looked at the woman I'd loved for 8 years and saw a stranger. "I'm not coming home," I said. "Don't be stupid. You can't just vanish over a hurt ego." "Watch me." I turned to the elevator. She followed, her voice rising with promises. Excuses, threats, but I tuned her out. When the doors closed, she was still talking. Friday, a text from an unknown number. "This is Claire. Lauren's a mess. Fix this." I showed Noah over breakfast. "Change your number," he said, so I did. 3 weeks later, I was settling into a new rhythm, work on the school site, helping Noah fix his Jeep on weekends, making choices without second-guessing. I rented a small apartment in Colorado Springs, nothing fancy, just mine. No debates over decor or dinner plans. For the first time in years, I felt free. Then my mom called. "Ethan," Lauren came by, "said you're having some kind of breakdown, that you disappeared after a trip and won't talk to her." Mom had always liked Lauren, thought she grounded me. "It's not a breakdown, Mom, we're done." "What happened?" "You can fix this." I dodged the details. "How do you explain months of calculated cruelty without sounding petty?" "I'll call you later," I said, but I knew Lauren was still spinning her story, painting me as the unhinged one who'd abandoned her. That weekend, I drove to Denver to see my friend Caleb, a fellow engineer who'd been at our wedding. "Heard you and Lauren split," he said, cracking open a beer. "She's saying you bailed after a fight." She seemed pretty torn up. There it was, her narrative framing me as the villain. On his porch, I told him the truth. "That's twisted," he said when I finished. "Why would she do that?" "I think she wanted to prove she could break me," I said. Caleb paused. "You know, at your wedding, I noticed something. Every time you were laughing with the guys, Lauren would swoop in, pull you away for some photo or toast. I thought she was just being attentive. But maybe she didn't like you shining without her." That night, I drove past our old house. Lauren's SUV was parked, lights glowing inside. Her silhouette moved behind the curtains. I didn't stop, just kept driving. Seeing that house, the life I'd built, crystallized something. I wasn't just escaping a toxic marriage. I was chasing something better. Over the next few months, I took control. I opened a new bank account, moved my share of our savings, and hired a divorce lawyer, Diane Harper, who listened to my story with quiet focus. "Got any proof of their behavior?" she asked. I showed her the blocked calls, the harassing texts, and mentioned Lauren's visit to my parents. "We can use this," Diane said. "Colorado's no fault, but harassment matters for asset splits." 2 months later, Diane called me to her office. "Lauren's team is claiming abandonment, saying you left without warning and refused counseling." My stomach dropped. "But," Diane added, "we dug deeper. Lauren's been telling people you were abusive, that she left for her safety." "That's a lie. I know. We found Instagram posts from that weekend, her and her sisters partying in Bozeman. Captioned 'Girls' Night. Free at last.' Posted hours after they ditched you." She showed me the photos, Claire wearing my Rockies cap, left in the SUV. Diane also had screenshots of their group chats, months of plotting, mocking my pathetic dependence, betting I'd crawl back in days. The divorce hearing came in March. I wore my old wedding suit, now a symbol of closure. Lauren sat across the courtroom, thinner, weary, trying to catch my eye with a weak smile. Her lawyer painted me as a volatile husband who'd fled over a minor family spat. Diane countered with precision, presenting the chats, posts, and harassment records. "They show premeditated cruelty," she told the judge, her voice steady. My client was abandoned, mocked, and harassed, while the petitioner and her sisters celebrated. The judge reviewed the evidence in silence, and I felt a weight lift, not just from the courtroom, but from the last 8 years.